You will find the ATP in so much of our synapses, whether it's a gift of mitochondria or cell transport, or a comic about cellular respiration or fermentation. You will see ATP mentioned. So, why the big deal? Why is it all over the place? Many times students will get in their mind that is it an energy currency of some kind? When I first started studying biology, I know that in textbook it's often represented as like this star thing or thunderbolt. And I get in my mind and imagine it was like some big burst of energy that helped the cell do things. And by do things, I mean that we need ATP to do many cellular processes. Examples include active transport, such as when a cell is typing to move something again, its concentrated gradient or its role in muscle contraction with the actin and myosin crossbreed. We need another video for that. ATP is critical for many types of cell signaling. You need your cell to be able to communicate. Those are all just some examples. But what is ATP? How do we get it? And how does it work?
Those are the basics of what we're going to focus on in this short video.
So what is ATP? If you remember the four major biomolecules, ATP would fit in with the nucleic acid.
Yes, like DNA and RNA. ATP is a nucleotide derivative, so it has those three parts you see in DNA on RNA nucleotide. Phosphate sugar base, but it actually has three phosphate. ATP is short for its full name, adenosine triphosphate. This fancy name is helpful as it tells you that it contains the nitrogenous base. No. As adenine and triphosphate has the tie in adenosine triphosphate. Its sugar is labeled.
How do you get ATP? All cells need ATP and cells need processes that can be used to generate it. But the process can differ. It might involve oxygen use as aerobic cellular respiration. This might not involve oxygen use as aerobic respiration or formulation. During cellular respiration, plant break down the glucose they make from photosynthesis to make ATP. During cellular respiration, animals break down the glucose they consume to make ATP. And it is not just plant and animal, bacteria, fungi, protists, and archaea. They all need to make ATP. We have a video on cellular respiration and another one on fermentation that can be helpful to understand and process. But one thing that we do want to mention about making ATP is that it is important to understand it is part of a cycle. With the ATP cycle, you have ATP which can be hydrolysis in losing energy and losing one of these phosphates in this process. A process like cellular respiration can provide the energy needed at a process to ATP. In order to regenerate ATP again, which is important as ATP can be used quickly. This brings on to how ATP is able to work.
So how does ATP work?
It's not just about ATP being hydrolyzed and releasing energy. It's more than that. Okay, honestly, is more than all a short video can go into, which is why we provide some further reading links, but let's look at some basics. So when ATP is hydrolyzed, meaning here is involved, the addition of water is not really that the bond between this second and third phosphate itself is super strong bond is actually more that the bond between the second and third phosphate contribute to this ATP begin as stable. These phosphate with their negative charge not like begin left like this. The charge for ATP losing its third phosphate to become the most stable ATP is an exergonic reaction and releasing free energy. A popular example for understanding ATP is to use the spin illustration, like a white spin. Consider how you might compress the spin. ATP would be modeled by that compressed spin. Then you would let it go until it just goes into this relaxed state, which would be represented by ADP.
When ATP is hydrolyzed, if the energy was just released, it will likely not be useful for a cell. If it's not actually coupled to something that needs it. Thankfully, the energy release can be coupled to endocrine processes that the cell need to do. This can occur when the phosphate from the ATP is transferred to a molecule that is going to be acted upon. For example, this cell transport protein here is supposed to move some kind of molecule against its concentration gradient. Recall if it was passive transport, this molecule would be moving from high to low concentration. But in active transport, thanks to ATP, this protein can move them against the gradient. When the phosphate is transferred to this protein, we say the protein has been phosphorylated. Sounds powerful. We can say in our example that this protein is more reactive and less stable in this form. This phosphorylated intermediate state. When it reverses into its original, more stable shape, it can assist in moving them on altered direction. So, formulating at a breathing of a single cellular hair or chromosome making subparilating in cell division or binding the correct amino acid on a tRNA, I could go on. We hope that little ATP symbol will mean something every time you see it. Well, that is for amoeba sister, and we remind you to stay curious.